There we are, Kasabian, challenging Neil's blinkered worldviews as always. Thinking outside the box at last, Neil?
Yeah. This isn't the start to the show, I thought.
Before that, Modest Mouse, which fits in more with your, your stage view of things. Good morning, this is Josh Widdicombe on XFM. I wasn't having a go at you, Neil.
Felt like you were.
Did it? Well, that's because you just, had your world turned upside down by your knowledge of what's happening to the children of the future. Anyway, do you follow Kasabian Uncut on Twitter?
I do, yes.
It's genuinely the greatest Twitter account of all time. If it's a Twitter account of fake Kasabian lyrics, and it is... I think it's the greatest work since Dickens. I've never read Dickens, so it might be better. What a week. What do you do with your Valentine's Day? Doesn't matter. I watched a 2-hour documentary on the Dave Clark 5. That was on BBC Two. Have you seen it? Did you see this?
I didn't, no.
Right, it was one of the most astonishing... I'm going to give you an idea of the tone. The documentary on the Dave Clark 5 was produced and directed by Dave Clark.
If people listening now don't know who Dave Clark is...
Well, it's unlikely, judging by what... If you don't know who Dave Clark 5 is, right, then where have you been? I'm going to give you a clip I've made of the show, right? This is in order, people talking about the Dave Clark 5. So if you don't know who the Dave Clark 5 is, where have you been? This is the views of Stevie Wonder, Bruce Springsteen, Paul McCartney and Elton John, in order.
There are certain songs you can hear, and it stamps the time and place in our lives forever.
The thing that people have kind of missed in reference to the Dave Clark 5 is those were big, powerful, nasty-sounding records, man. Bigger, much bigger sounding than, say, the Stones or the Beatles. Much bigger sounding.
It was huge, I mean, we were kids from Liverpool, they were kids from London. So that amount of success was fantastic. It's what we were aiming for, and we were lucky enough to get it.
The three giants that came out of Britain in the 60s were the Beatles, the Dave Clark 5 and the Rolling Stones.
Unbelievable. No, they weren't. I was watching it for the first half hour. I didn't realise it was directed and produced by Dave Clark. I was thinking, I can't believe I've missed this. I thought I knew quite a lot about music. How has this passed me by? They've got a song called Glad All Over, right? Beyond that, don't really have any other songs, seemingly. I reckon in those 2 hours I heard Glad All Over 90 times. And you think, well, how did they adapt that for different moods? They had a different version, which was a sadder version of Glad All Over, played at a slower pace, for the sad moments. The list of... How has he done this? If you haven't seen what he looks like now as well, his eyebrows have moved up his face, because he's had so much work done. Or he claims not to. Come on, mate. The Talking Heads, in order... Tom Hanks, Laurence Olivier. Laurence Olivier, he's been dead since the 80s. Elton John, Whoopi Goldberg. Paul McCartney, Dionne Warwick, Twiggy, Ian McKellen, Cliff Richard, Freddie Mercury, Ozzy Osbourne, Stevie Wonder, Bruce Springsteen, Sharon Osbourne, and the best of all, Gene Simmons in full Kiss makeup. It's genuinely the most astonishing thing you've ever seen. And it includes a 20-minute thing about how he reinvented musical theatre by doing a musical about aliens in the future. Narrated by Laurence Olivier and with a song by Freddie Mercury. Are you aware of the Dave Clark 5?
I am now.
It's genuinely astonishing. I just needed to get it off my chest. It's just to finish. They then talk about how important it is. They must be amazing because they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Inducted by Tom Hanks, who basically implies at one point in his speech that Dave Clark, genuinely, there's a bit in Tom Hanks' speech, I don't know how this has happened. He implies that the Dave Clark 5 got America back on their feet after the assassination of JFK. Other people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, this is how easy it is to get in. They induct about 8 people a year. That's less new bands than XFM play. To give you an idea of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, George Ezra is already in it twice. He's not. They've got... Do you want to hit some people in the Rock and Roll Hall? Little Walter, done research, Buddy Guy, Mort Schulman, Little Anthony and the Imperials, and Spooner Oldman.
Josh Widdicombe. Podcast XFM.
Unfinished business. Things that we've got to catch up on from last week that people are worried about. Dear Neil, what? How's that happened?
Well, this is Maggie, who offered to review the Ting Tings for us.
Yeah.
So I emailed her. So her email is obviously going to be back to me.
Okay. Thanks for emailing. I've just listened to the podcast. Thanks for mentioning my lengthy letter/email. It was pretty exciting to hear. I would love to go and tell you guys all about it. Not specifically for the music, as far as I know, they only have one song. How do you feel about that?
It's fine.
Yeah, Dave Clark 5 got away with it, mate. Anyway, I looked they could play it slower. I looked into it, and oddly enough, the Ting Tings is actually sold out. She's then this is just a paragraph. I know, ... How's the Ting... It's a small... wish I could report back for you in April. I guess that's the end of that saga, ? She's leaving it open. I really don't know Ting and Ting were that popular. Or popular at all since 2008. Maggie. What do you think about that? I'm gutted. I'm absolutely gutted. We're going to now open it up. If anyone has a Ting Tings gig near them, we will buy you a ticket if you go and review it. Is that right?
Yeah, one person per show.
One person per show. One person per city.
Yeah.
And we'll try and complete all the cities in the world. Although I think the problem there won't be us, our reach, but maybe the Ting Tings. Although they're a global brand.
True.
I'm gutted for Maggie. If anyone can get us, if anyone from Rough Trade is listening, or anyone knows anyone that can source us a ticket to the Ting Tings at Rough Trade New York, then we've got that. I'm gutted, Neil. You've ruined the day. Is that it for this link?
Yeah.
What a depressing link.
That was the biggest bit of unfinished business from last week.
I know. Do you want one more bit of unfinished business that I brought? Do you know we had an anonymous person on last week who's a kind of vigilante car park attendant?
Yes.
And he started policing his own car park because people won't do it for him. Not taking money, but just policing away. We have had something in from him. He said, this week has been uneventful. The concrete barrier that got destroyed the other week has rendered me powerless. I bought the materials, but I didn't get a chance to actually do the labour. And with a bit of perspective, trying to mix concrete seemed a step too far. I borrowed a high-vis jacket from work, but I don't feel that warrants you talking about this on the radio. Too late. Tied it up. If you are a vigilante car park attendant or can source us a ticket for the Ting Tings or the new Niz Loppy tour, we'll take it.
Yep.
Josh Widdicombe. XFM.
Today's topics. Okay, I want to talk about being stood up. Oh, very good. Neil, I said very good. You didn't see it at home. Neil faked as if he was going to stand up. That you can, if you have got anything on standing up generally, that's fine. But I mean, I was meant to present an NME award with Adam Hills on Wednesday.
Wow.
Yeah, but then Adam got ill.
Oh.
Yeah, and I thought I can't go on. I couldn't go on my own. There'd be nothing sadder. And imagine going to the NME Awards on your own, and then what would happen, because you've been stood up, is you'd be paired with someone, and you'd have to present the award as if you were friends. So it'd be me and, the drummer from the Lumineers having to do a little skit together before giving Viv Albertine Book of the Year. You what?
I was going to say, I don't even know if the Lumineers know who the drummer for the Lumineers is.
Oh, Neil, come on. Lest we forget, a year ago, they were they had a single.
Hey ho.
Oh. Really good, mate.
Nice.
What's annoyed me, though, is you've done what is definitely going to be the best thing you say at 10:35. We've still got 2.5 hours to go, mate. Why waste our time with a Lumineers pun at this time in the morning? When's peak listening time? Probably between 11 and 12.
I don't know.
Oh, unbelievable. When have you been stood up by someone? Oh, there's got to be stories in this. Come on, people. No, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you were stood up and then they sent along the drummer from the Lumineers, but if that did happen, that'd be a bonus. When have you been stood up or had to go to something on your own or been left in a restaurant on your own? Come on. Because obviously mine's not that much of a tale of woe. Would you have gone on your own?
Probably. Although thinking about it, I was at a loose end on Wednesday night.
Yeah, no, but it was,
Someone with profile.
No, it wasn't. I wish I'd known.
Okay.
Because you could have gone instead of me, and then you wouldn't jump from the Lumineers. So that's the subject I bring to the table. What doth you bring? Yeah, a bit of highbrow.
Yeah, I bring... well, my parents are moving house, or looking to move house, and it got me thinking that...
Do you know any removal men? I think the drummer from the Lumineers has got a van and time on his hands.
4/4 time.
Oh, yes. I was wrong. A minute late. Turns out the Lumineer is quite a fertile ground for Neil and puns.
They're just... let's not make them a symbol of fun.
Thanks. Very good, yeah, no.
Thanks. But no, it got me thinking, there's a lot of memories in that house, but more so...
All right.
There's going to be a lot...
Daniel Kitson.
There's a lot of things, like a lot of pets and stuff buried in the back garden.
Okay.
But then it made...
How many pets? Who are they? Rose and Fred West?
No, there's a dog and a couple of hamsters and stuff. But it got me thinking as well.
That died of natural causes?
Yeah. When we first moved into another house...
It's not like the Jordashes in Brookside.
Let me speak. When we first moved into another house, there was
That would make you Anna Friel doing the first ever lesbian kiss. Great moment.
There was an entire Wendy house once buried in a garden.
What?
That we moved into.
You moved it?
And we were like digging, and this Wendy house came up. So it got me thinking, because we need to be quick, what have people found buried in gardens?
That's good.
Or what have people buried themselves because they couldn't bother to move it?
Yeah. Okay, if you are Trevor Jordash, don't give us a call. Found... Oh, no, he was the person who was buried. What? So that's a very good subject. Things you found that have been buried.
Yes.
Or things you have buried.
Yeah.
And have you ever been stood up or stood anyone up?
Josh Widdicombe. XFM.
Everlong, the Foo Fighters, headlining Glastonbury. Which is a decision, isn't it? You can't deny they've made a decision on that. Now, this is the Josh Widdicombe Show, now joined by David Trent. Hello.
Hello.
Debutante.
Very excited.
Debutante Trent.
Yeah, that's what they call me.
Yeah. You've actually had less airtime on XFM than your son.
I know. It hurts. It really hurts.
You're here to redress the balance.
Yeah, all in one fell swoop.
In one fell swoop. How are you?
Over. Very well, thank you very much for asking.
What would you normally be doing at this time on a Sunday morning?
On a Sunday morning, I'd just have dropped my daughter off at her theatre course.
Oh, yeah. How old is she?
12.
12?
Yeah.
Performing runs in the family?
Yes, very much so.
Showing off?
Oh, yes. And then probably be cooking.
Be cooking?
Yeah.
What, a Sunday roast?
Yes. I mean, yeah, that's maybe some meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this time in the morning? Well,
it's 11 o'clock now, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, have you ever cooked something?
No.
Right, okay. Well, that answers a lot of my other questions.
I've been in a restaurant. It doesn't take them 2 hours.
No, but I think there's some preparation involved before you hit the restaurant.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, I think so. A whole chicken will take longer than a piece of chicken.
Oh, right. So 2 chickens take twice.
Have you ever cooked it? No, you're vegetarian.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, so it's all a misty world to me. Anyway, I was going to go into my cooking skills. I like to buy a frozen pizza and then put jalapenos on it. Does that count as cooking?
No, that counts as that's cheating. I mean, there's a whole industry based around that sort of cheat. Delia's got a book about it. Nigella's got a book about it.
What, cheating?
Yeah, there's a whole. You really are a part-timer, aren't you?
I'm an amateur.
Yeah.
Let's get onto topics. Let's. Have you ever buried something? Found something buried?
Sure.
Yeah, of course. Good.
Yeah.
That's the kind of question we open with. Found or buried?
Well, I buried something. Me and my mates, we interviewed a lot of people for our flat. And then...
This isn't going to turn into Shallow Grave, is it?
Yeah, that's what I was doing. No. So, when I was about 10 or 11, we used to play down at the back of the golf course as a little woods. And one day, Alan Fell and I discovered we hit the payload, and it was a huge plastic bag, and inside the plastic bag was maybe 30 naughty mags.
30 naughty mags?
30 naughty mags. And we were 11, I think. So
Oh, my
it was
word.
incredibly exciting.
So what? How do we think they got there?
No, I never understand. I know that I've repaid the favour later.
Have you gone back? Do you feel
Not to
there's a
that
kind of
area,
karma?
but I've known that, you know, if I needed to get rid of one,
Yeah.
well, once.
Why did you need to get rid of it? Impending
Because,
marriage?
you know, it's time to recycle, isn't it? So you repay the favour. You find a lay-by or somewhere else that you may have once found one, and you go and place it in that area.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's the code.
Which lay-by?
Well, if you're going from Welwyn Garden City to St Albans and you're going the back way through Lemsford, there's a road off to the left that goes down to Wheathampstead. There's a lay-by on the right-hand side. So
And
check it out. There's
a naughty magazine there.
I was about 19, so that would be 23 years.
But if you put it in
23-year-old
Tupperware,
mag. Of course I put it in Tupperware.
Yeah, of
Always
course.
conscientious. So we found these mags, and then we realised that there was too many to take home. So we took one, and then we both chose one favourite picture. And Alan had the idea of burying the picture. So we buried this picture down the side of the house.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it. And we all went...
Did you go and then find it?
No. What happened then was I got a phone call from Alan in tears saying my mum decided to dig up and plant some flowers, and it was like 2 days after we'd done it.
What are the chances?
Impossible. But he said that I found them and I made him do it. So, So Alan, if you're listening, I've forgiven you.
It's Sunday. Shall we do it? Yeah. Have you ever been stood up?
Yes.
Have you?
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, it's not such a fun story, this one. When I was...
Have you got the sad music now?
When I was about 26 years old, I decided that I would go and do voluntary service overseas in Nepal. So I gave up my job.
Is this a lie?
No, I gave up my job,
okay.
and I gave up my entire life in England. And I flew out to Kathmandu, and I spent 3 months learning the language.
Is this true?
Yeah,
Right,
it's all true, right? I spent 3 months learning.
We've never
language.
discussed this.
No, it's all true.
Yeah.
It's all true. And you have a lot of preparation for change, and you lower your expectations. And I was working. I'd taken a post in a place called Beergunge, and Beergunge is described by the Lonely Planet as there is no reason for anyone ever to spend more than one night in Beergunge. And I'd signed up to do 2.5 years there.
Oh my!
Right. So the job was to work with a counterpart, sharing educational skills, and that would trickle down and help all of Nepal. So I went after 3 months of training. Excitedly, I travelled down in a bus, and I spent a couple of lonely nights in a hotel, and eventually I found a flat and set myself up. And I went for my first day at work, and I said, "Is Mr. Mohan Chowdhury here? I'm the volunteer from England." And they said, "He's in Chitwan." And I said, "Okay, I'll come back tomorrow." So I went back the next day, and I said, "Is Mr. Mohan Chowdhury here?" And they said, "No, he's in Chitwan still."
Is that far away?
Chitwan is maybe 6 hours on a bus away.
Right.
And I thought, okay.
So yes.
Yes. I went back every day, and then on the last day of the week I said again, "Is Mr..." They said, "No, David, he's in Chitwan. He's moved to Chitwan."
So what did you do?
Oh, I just didn't do anything for maybe a year and a half. I bought a computer. I learned how to surf the internet. That was a new thing at the time. It's 1997. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, I did ICQ. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh well,
It's the saddest story I've ever heard.
yeah, it's a very, very sad.
If you have any less sad standing up stories, 83936 or tweet us at XFM, or have you ever buried something, found something buried? Particularly if you were the person that buried those magazines.
Josh Widdicombe. Podcast. XFM.
Do you want to hear one standing up story, David Trent?
I'd love to hear a standing up story, please, Josh.
Okay, this is from Alex in Kent. I once stood a guy up on a second date Let's have the sad music again now. I once stood a guy up on a second date because on our first date, he turned up with a Morrison's carrier bag, which he told me had Shakespeare's head in it. When actually, the truth was worse. He'd brought along a bag of deflated balloons to celebrate our first date. Wow. Yes, I met him online. But I don't think you should be standing someone up on the second date. You shouldn't be organising a second date in that situation.
Well, she didn't... She? He? Alex?
Alex. She, probably.
She didn't know that he had Shakespeare's head in a bag. I mean, that...
Well, that was the initial joke.
It was the Morrison's bag that...
He had a Morrison's bag. He said it was Shakespeare's head. She said, really? He said, no, I've brought some balloons to celebrate our first date.
During the first date?
During the first date, yeah.
I quite understand. Yeah, don't make the second date,
No.
Alex. I mean, it's quite...
That's just embarrassing. There's no point in carrying it on. Just send a text. Gutlessly
Let's
send a
role-play
text.
it. Right, okay,
Yeah.
so... Hi. What's in your bag?
Shakespeare's head.
Oh, good one, mate. No, really, what is...
Yeah, but I think if that joke hasn't landed initially, the date's gone. You've gone in too big too early. Because if you go in Shakespeare's head and they don't... Oh, it's a gamble. I wonder if he prepared it or he panicked.
If she asks what's in the bag,
Yeah.
I'm going to say Shakespeare's head.
Yeah, I'm going to...
Rather than... I've bought some balloons to celebrate off, which is quite cute, really.
It is.
Is that too hard?
No.
It's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Let's go up a hill, blow up some balloons, and look out over London as if we...
And we'll remember this moment forever.
This seems like you ruined a really good thing. Who are you going out with now, Alex?
Yeah, Alex. I hope it's Rob from Croydon, who's a terrible man. We won't go into his text, but Rob, you need to have a long, hard look in the mirror, because what you did to that girl in Waterloo Station... He phoned her up, told her to raise her arm, looked at her, decided he didn't want to go out with her, and walked off.
That's the future.
That's Take Me Out, right there.
That's
He's now the
unbelievable.
exec producer on Take Me Out.
Poor girl, she just stood there and did it. Didn't think it through.
No. 83936 or tweet us at XFM. Rob, you need to really...
Rob, beauty is only skin deep. Anyway, what if she was fantastic?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll never know. But Rob, don't ever text in again. We hate you.
Josh Widdicombe. XFM.
Now, David, it comes to the time when we play the Neil-named game, Call My Josh, which isn't a good enough pun, but we're going to go with it anyway.
Right.
I'm going to give you, it's very simple. I'm just going to give you 5 descriptions of a thing, and you have to just, are they true or false? It's very simple. There is a leaderboard. Top of the leaderboard,
Matthew Crosby
and B.T. Edmondson have both got 5 out of 5.
and James Acaster.
And James Acaster. Basically, it's a test of how well you know me.
And what do I win?
Just it's like star in the reasonably priced car, just glory.
What do they win?
They win. They get their names read out every week, mate,
Okay,
for being top of the leaderboard. This could be you.
Right.
Your topic is sitcom storylines.
Okay.
Are these real or false?
Okay.
Okay. First up, show you...
Can I just ask one more question?
Yes.
Who has written you've written...
I've written the false ones.
Okay.
And the real ones were written by the writers of the sitcoms. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay, is this an episode of the Britas Empire? Gordon Britas is worried because people are getting embarrassed getting change in front of strangers, so has the great idea to give each customer at the leisure centre a balaclava. When he orders them at the same time as chemicals for the leisure centre swimming pool, the local police presume he is part of a terrorist cell. Thoughts?
I think that you've written that.
What, if you'd like to show your workings?
Well, firstly, it doesn't sound feasible or acceptable. I mean...
You don't think that sounds acceptable?
It's the words terrorist cell.
Well, I might have adapted the word there.
That was the red flag for me.
Yeah. You don't think? I don't think they thought it was an Al Qaeda. I think it would more be a kind of.
It doesn't matter.
Part of the Irish Republican movement, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. That's not. They're not going to do that, are they? That's. It's a BBC 2, 9 o'clock. BBC 1,
7 o'clock, probably.
7. No, I'm going to say that is. You've made that up. That's false.
Is correct.
Yes.
1 out of 1. Okay. 2.4 children. Are you aware of 2.4 children from the 90s? Family sitcom from the 90s.
Who was in it?
Gary Olsen and Belinda Lang.
I could have been in Nepal.
Well, this is going to be tough. Okay. The daughter is. This is just for the daughter is called Jenny and the dad is called Ben. Okay. Jenny returns home to stay, but with a boy who is not to Ben's approval. Ben fears the pair will do it under his roof, so contrives a scheme to make Jenny's boyfriend too tired to do anything. Thoughts?
I think that's true.
Do you?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Well, it's Route 1. It's.
Would you watch that?
No, I definitely would. I can imagine it happening and thinking, oh. This is stupid. Why doesn't he just talk to the guy? It's very much like everything that I hate about the country I live in.
It's correct.
Yes.
2 out of 2. Oh. Home Improvement. Are you aware of Home Improvement?
No.
You're not aware of Home Improvement?
No, talk to me.
Starring Tim the Tallman Taylor. An American sitcom. Based around Tim Taylor. Are you aware of Home Improvement, Neil?
Yeah.
I thought David Sherman would be aware of Home Improvement. He was basically an alpha male.
Right. Okay, so Tim Taylor in Home Improvement.
Yeah. Tim's neighbour, Wilson, is accused of a local burglary. But luckily, Tim can provide him with an alibi as they were talking over the fence at the time. However, Tim is put in an awkward position when he can't identify his neighbour in a lineup because he's never seen him over the fence.
So the fence is higher than the two of them?
Yes.
They're talking to one another. They can't see each other. Oh, I'm very anxious about
What I like about this is you all take it far more seriously than anyone has ever taken. Most people play the game, you feel like you're genuinely worried.
I'm sweating.
What are your thoughts? Gonna have to rush you.
I think it sounds bland enough for you not to have made it up.
Thank you very much.
So I'm going to say that is true. It's a real plot line.
Incorrect.
What?
That is incorrect.
Oh.
You're now playing for glory.
I'd just like to point out my son's in the studio and you've just dishonoured me in front of him.
Just like to point out your son's in the studio, which is hugely unprofessional.
I'd like to point out that I shouldn't have pointed out. I didn't realise I wasn't warned. I'm terribly sorry. Thanks for having me. Good luck.
Is this episode 1, season 1 of Whoops? Some kids accidentally set off a nuclear bomb. Russia retaliate, and the only 6 kids left are the kids that set off the bomb who have to fend for themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Correct.
Everyone knows Whoops.
Do they? Right, finally for 4 out of 5. Is this an episode of Goodnight Sweetheart, starring Nicholas Lyndhurst?
Oh, here we go.
When Neville Chamberlain, played by Geoffrey Palmer, visits Gary's local in wartime, the regulars turn on him for appeasing Adolf Hitler. Gary has to take the former Prime Minister into hiding for his own safety, and in his panic, he takes him through the time portal to the 90s. Will the great appeaser cope in the modern day? Will there be peace in our time, or will Elaine find out what Gary has done?
Oh, you've written that.
Why do you think that?
Well, it sounds very much like the book that's recently been, that German book about Hitler coming back. That's the first thing. Second thing, I think the BBC would reference Hitler, but they wouldn't show him. There'd be too many.
No, he's taking Neville Chamberlain through the time portal, not Hitler.
I don't know. I'm still concerned about the mistake I made earlier.
Are you genuinely worried? Well, it's correct. 4 out of 5. Don't be worried, David. 4 out of 5, but a disgrace in terms of health and safety in the workplace.
Josh Widdicombe podcast.
So, do you want a story on burying things first? Let's have a story on burying things, David. That's what we're talking about.
I do want that.
Yeah, well, you're about to get it. This is from DG in South East London. Or DG in SE London. DG hasn't got time to write proper words.
No, you save every possible moment.
When you've got an anecdote like this, you don't need to.
Let's hear it.
I was reminded of something I inexplicably did as a weird teenager. My neighbour kept stealing my motocross gloves. So I thought I'll show him by hiding them. I hid them up a tree in a wood opposite our houses. Next day I climbed up the tree to receive them. I only remember this weird event. I don't even remember the neighbour's name, because when I tried to get them, they were crawling with earwigs.
Oh,
I never hid something up a tree again.
oh no.
It's quite a kind of sad, bleak story, that. We could have had the sad music back now.
It's more of a...
I'd say that's the opposite of burying things.
Yeah.
I'd say that 110% doesn't respond to our topic.
Not under the ground. Can you
No.
bury something in a tree?
No, if anything, you're elevating it away from the ground. You're making it as unburied as possible.
So
The only way, if that had been a story about going on a plane, that would be the only way that'd be less synonymous with synonymous. Is that the right word? That's on topic.
it's not the right word, but it's acceptable.
It's acceptable.
When we're struggling. I mean, it's... I don't understand any of it. They were his gloves.
Yeah, that were being
Hidden. So you've confused hiding with burying.
Yeah.
So all I can say...
I mean, a DG in South East London needs... Let's move on. I once got stood up as a result of Martine McCutcheon. See, that's a stronger start.
Straight away, we've got the MM.
Yeah, I had a new date, and we're right. Be good if Martine McCutcheon got a job at M&M World.
Well,
I come on, a mean-spirited person would say it's not far off. Not me.
I'm not a fan of M&M World, and I would never like to see Martine McCutcheon in there, because she, to me, is perfection.
Well, you're in tune with Nigel in N10. I had a new date, and we arrived at the restaurant. She was very excited as she was testing washing machines on Good Morning Britain, her first telly appearance. On the table behind was Martine McCutcheon. My date said Martine must be very disappointed about how things have turned out. I wasn't having any of that after the musical and EastEnders Glory. My date walked out in disgust at the exact time the food came for us both. I ate alone and didn't have the guts to tell Martine that she was responsible for our row.
Who's this guy? What's his name?
Nigel in N10.
Nigel, you are a hero. You are a legend. I mean, you've forgotten the Simply Red debacle, which again...
What was the Simply Red debacle?
Well, Martine McCutcheon is responsible for Mick Hucknall having to cut his dreadlocks off.
What?
Because she vomited into...
Is that true?
Yeah.
Where?
I think it was coming out of a taxi or a limo.
Were they going out with each other?
I think they were going out with one another, and it must have... I'd
Do
imagine
you
it was
think she did that because she wanted him to get rid of his dreadlocks?
if she did, it's a great strategy.
Josh Widdicombe.
Ivo Graham, hello.
Hello. Thank you.
How many appearances now?
11.
11.
A football team's worth.
He would know because he's made a league table of everyone's appearances.
Always better to see someone making their debut appearance, David. You've been notched up.
Pleased? Pleased?
Yeah, I'm delighted to know that I'm in his little stalky spreadsheet.
But in the secondary spreadsheet of mentions on the show without appearances, Trent is absolutely nailing it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're up there with
feels
Justine
good.
Frischman. Well, if only we could book her. Now.
Or Robson and Jerome.
Oh, yeah, I like Robson and Jerome. Now.
I like Frischman.
As we find out.
Put that on record.
Yeah. Have you, has anyone else looked at her wedding photos on Flickr? No, me neither. Right, anyway, so...
Who was that?
Justine Frischman from Elastica. Her wedding photos were on Flickr.
When did she get married?
Oh, about 5... All you need, bit of a Photoshop job, put your head on there.
Do you put them on a Flickr when you can't sell them to OK or Hello Magazine?
She could have sold them, but to Vox, which hasn't existed since, probably since you were born. Now, Ivo.
Yes.
Presumably you've been stood up.
That's, I mean, you're right, but the presumption is still annoying.
Yeah.
I got stood up stood up for a date once in Russia. I was on my year abroad, and I had the good fortune of a Saturday night to kiss an American girl from my language school in a Russian bar.
Oh, ticking all the boxes.
On Dumskaya Street in St. Petersburg. Anyone who's been over to kissing central.
If ever there is a sign that communism is dead, it's the Etonian and the American kissing in Moscow.
That doesn't even mean anything.
How symbolic!
I don't think my schooling
of the rise of
capitalism
capitalism
at all.
Yeah.
Well, if there was a sign that communism was still alive and kicking, it was the way the relationship went downhill immediately afterwards. Because we arranged to go for a drink a few days later, and she didn't turn up, and so she didn't come back to school that week either. So I investigated a bit. I had to find her surname out. I didn't know her surname, but after a bit of help from the language school secretary, I managed to obtain her full details. Looked her up on Facebook and found out she'd already gone back to America.
Oh, but she had organised the second date.
Yeah, no, I don't think she'd organised going back to America, as in booking a flight the morning after to have an excuse. But she'd made me look a right fool.
Oh, that's quite a sad story.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Take me through the phone call to the records administrator.
No, it was all done in person. Featured some very tentative Russian, a few jokes about communism, obviously, nicked off Josh. I got the information I needed.
Did you do it like you were dealing with the KGB? Did you have to say, to get the information, go, Grey Squirrel is
amazing? No.
The weather in Moscow is snowy for this time of year.
He said in June. When it's I'm just thinking about Russian weather.
Have you ever buried something or found something buried?
Yeah, what a morbid. Have you heard about this?
Not someone, something.
Oh, right, okay. Not just a previous girls who'd stood me up. No,
if you haven't, would you like to hear from Dave in Pocklington?
Yeah, let's hear from Dave first and see what I'm warming up to.
I once found a pogtainer full of pogs on Cromer Beach, semi-submerged in the sand. The joy was tarnished by the fact that I'd most of them already, and half were vastly inferior Tazos.
Wow.
I bet Dave never thought that anecdote would end up on the radio.
What? That text means nothing to me.
Oh, does it not?
No, apart from the beach.
So you don't know what pogs are?
Did they spin?
Not really. They were kind of cardboard discs. Presumably you were part of the pog craze when you
No. It passed me, maybe again, Nepal. Most
when you're in Nepal, the things that were going on.
Nepal, yeah.
We could make up anything that happened during 1996 to 1998, and neither of our guests will have any understanding of it, which is a shame because it's most of our topics.
Josh Widdicombe. XFM.
That "Please Don't Leave" was slightly too desperate, I thought, at the end.
That's what she said in Moscow.
Oh.
Sorry.
Move on. What was her name?
Never mind.
Do you know her full name?
Yeah,
well, of course you did.
Yeah, I did. It took me a half an hour.
Okay, Ivo Graham there. David Trent still here.
Hello.
Hello. Would you like to hear a story about being stood up by a man in Plymouth?
I really would.
This is a new level of astonishment. This wouldn't happen in 2.4 Children. It's too outlandish. But I'm going to believe him. I invited a girl I was seeing to my friend's 21st birthday party. She cancelled the day as a party as she had to cover someone at work. I went to the party and it turned out that she was the stripper. Are you buying that?
The dream.
Is that the dream?
Yeah, because you'd say, I respect your decision to do this for a living, and I understand that you needed to work this evening and you didn't feel you could tell me about it.
So you'd see this as the ultimate...
Yeah, and then we'd make up and we would make passionate love. And it would be perfect. Absolutely perfect.
No, I'm not buying any of that.
No.
I mean,
Would you see it as a deal breaker?
Whether... I don't understand. What do you mean a deal breaker? Like
you think that was the end of the relationship?
Stripping?
No, the fact that she turned up at strip to your mate's 21st while telling you she was working. Well, she was working.
But, well, as David said, it's truth. But I'd have preferred it if it had just been like, I don't know, catering or something. Another job at the 21st.
But have you not seen Only Fools and Horses?
No.
Right, okay, obviously not. I mean, but Raquel went to strip at the pub, and Del was there, and it was very embarrassing for him, and that was a very long relationship resulting in children and everything, so maybe you need to open your mind, young man.
Okay, but all your friends have watched her doing a strip. I saw a strip.
You saw a strip?
Congrats.
I did a gig. It was a private party and ended with something coming out of a cake, and it was horrible. It was just so weird.
What one of those big cake strips? Do they do them in real life?
Yeah.
Real? That's Scorsese.
What was the party for?
It was
Roman Abramovich.
No, it was friends of my parents' 50th.
No.
And they.
So how long did you do before the stripper came out the cake?
I did 15 before and 5 after. I was emceeing the stripping.
And you knew what it was going to be?
I did about 2 hours before the party. So I had that much time to sort of prepare some strip-based ad-libs. But they had to wheel her. It was a fake cake. Enormous enough to hold a person. So I don't know if there are ever real cakes. I'd love to see that. But so it was on wheels, and they had to wheel it through a door. But they got stuck on the way through, so it was too big. So the stripper had to come out of this fake cake, but not on the stage. And it wasn't very lit her corner of the room. So it was quite sad. The audience craning to see someone in the corner of a room coming out of a cake in the dark, and then me coming back on the curtain, and many more, or whatever you'd say at a birthday.
And many more?
But years.
Oh right, yeah. So wow. Why have I never heard that?
So never come up.
Did you share a green room with her?
Yeah, but we didn't talk.
No, through your choice or hers?
She very much took the lead on the no-talking front, and I followed
This
in
is
instead.
a birthday party.
Yeah.
We just have a Victoria sponge. What's wrong with the Victoria?
Would you like a stripper on your birthday, David?
Yes.
Yeah, and it'd be the woman that you've already married because you thought it was fine, apparently.
No, my wife's head of operations at the Medical Research Council in Cambridge.
Oh, okay.
It would be a real surprise if you turned up and she was the stripper at a party.
I'd rather that than a stripper doing my medical research.
Josh Widdicombe.
Last time we were on, we mistakenly came up with a new feature. Hypothetically speaking, Neil's called it. Neil loves a title.
Hypothetically speaking, okay.
But basically, where we came up with a hypothetical that if you had to replace Morrissey in the reformed Smiths, how it would go and how long you'd get away with it. So each week we've come up with a hypothetical scenario. If you had to do the Super Bowl halftime show.
Oh, amazing.
If you have to get up, if you have to do an Olympic sport and get away with it. This week is a two-parter. Neil's come up with half, I've come up with half. So Neil's half is...
I can't remember now.
If you had to complete a computer game because your life depended on it, what would you pick? Oh. David?
Well, I'd love all computer games, so that's not really a question.
No, I didn't think it was really going to work. That's why I came up with the second part.
Far Cry 4. I just completed it the other week. Then.
Yeah, just talking to people who've already
3.
completed.
What you've done here, Neil, is you've not picked your guest. David Trent spends his days completing computer games.
That's why my Edinburgh shows are getting worse and worse reviews. But completed games, many.
Okay, so I've
completed Return to Castle Wolfenstein on the PC. That's the only game I've ever
What's
finished.
Return to Castle Wolfenstein?
Absolutely amazing. You've escaped a German castle and you've got to fight your way back in, killing a lot of Nazis and zombies en route.
Yeah, I'm Jewish, so thanks for that. I mean, it's a controversial title, and you've thrown that at me and hurt my feelings.
He's going to be gutted when he learns that I completed it twice. Just did it faster the second time.
That's cool. You did it in the name of my people. And thank you for vanquishing.
I'm going to wade in on this one. Bit heavy.
Second part.
Hang on. Are you too young to remember the original Wolfenstein, the predecessor of Doom?
I thought you meant like the
original
Second World War.
War.
Are you too young to remember the Second World War?
Was that something in Only Fools and Horses?
Second part.
Yeah.
You are walking up the stairs on Dragon's Den. You have nothing.
Why have I been forbidden access to the lift?
Because they walk upstairs, don't they? Or do they come out of lifts these days?
Josh.
You can access the room in any way you like.
Let's just go back to the cookery.
You walk into Dragon's Den, you've got nothing. You have to start your pitch.
Yes.
Go.
Good afternoon, dragons.
Good afternoon.
I'm here to ask you for £25,000 for 30% equity in my business.
Yeah.
It's a magic business.
Yep.
I've invented many magic tricks.
Yep.
And I want to make them available to the general public.
It's quite good.
It's quite slow.
Yes, well, I want you to really get a good idea of what the pitch is. I want to be clear and focused, and I think that the world will want to invest in my magic, and together...
How long have we got for this link now?
Ivo?
I'd stick it on an accumulator, I think.
You what?
Stick it on that afternoon's football results, so we'll all pick a result. And
That's
it's high risk, admittedly.
Yeah.
But imagine if it came off. It'd be wonderful. You'd be so annoyed with the dragon that let the side down if you got all but one.
Who would let the side down? Kelly Hoppen. Well, she used to go out with Sol Campbell, so she's got knowledge.
Yeah.
Duncan Ballantyne's in sport. I mean, it's a
Is
good...
Deborah Meaden still on? I've lost touch with...
Guys,
Okay.
it's like you've got lives outside of TV. What's going on?
Evan Davis doesn't do it anymore, though.
Yes.
Does he?
Yes.
He's gone to, I thought you went to Newsnight.
I think he just does a voiceover. No, he still interviews them.
I'm not going to lie to you. This is the least successful, hypothetically speaking, we've ever done, Neil.
I've enjoyed it.
It's only because...
Glad someone has.
Neil,
What Olympic sport do people say they do?
Download the podcast and you'll find
I'm
out.
a few episodes behind.
Josh Widdicombe. XFM.